Hey everyone. First of all, just want to say happy Easter to everyone and hope that everyone is okay and safe at home while you are isolating in this crazy time. We're about to have Easter dinner, and so just wanted to let you folks know that we will not be necessarily online. I'm going to be jumping in and out to answer questions if I can, but for the most part, we are going to be having Easter dinner. So I hope you all enjoy. Happy Easter, everyone, and really, really soon we'll see you again. Tomorrow night, episode 2 of Tides of Wildmount will be happening, and Matt Lillard is going to be joining us again in the role of Borth for that. So have a good one, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, and enjoy the Fire Giant tutorial from Origins 2019. You guys have been asking for a Fire Giant for some time, and so I wanted to make sure that I got you guys that because we haven't got an actual physical one in hand. So this is a great one. Where my son and is joining me for the tutorial from Origins from last year. So enjoy. Welcome everyone to another live D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials with RealmSmith, live from the Origins Game Fair. Everyone say hello out there. That was good. Sunday morning, finally got it right. I like it. We have been here all week. We've been doing tutorials all week with all the fine folks that are here at Origins. Today we are going to be doing a Fire Giant. Very, very super excited about that. Joining me here, I've got Wes. I've been busting his butt all week, but he is working so hard. He's been at that front, and those of you that have joined us for classes all week know how hard this guy works. So I want to give a hand up to Wes and all of our volunteers this week. I call him Captain America. He is Mr. Origins 2019 in my opinion, but he's taken, ladies, sorry. And this is my son Ethan, who was joining us. He has also been a huge help this week, and these are all his minis that he's painted through our classes. And I hope he never DMs because that'll be dangerous for all of us involved. I'm just saying, you know, because anyways. We also have the winner of the Paint and Take 2019 joining us as well. Can you stand, please? And I'm sorry I forgot your name. What's your name? Kristen. This is Kristen. Let's turn that camera around. Everyone wave at Kristen. Go like this so everybody on the internet can see you. She won the Paint and Take yesterday in Hall A and won a Vallejo game color set and a bunch of WizKids minis and all that stuff. So congratulations for that. And thank you for joining us today. Yeah, she should be in the seat, not me today. And it's Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there, and all you moms too who are doing it on your own as well. That's important, and of course having my son here means a lot. Oh, I got a little misty. It means a lot for my son to be here with me and doing what I love to do. Wow, I got emotional on the internet. Hilarious. All right, let's dig right in and go away from the wide shot before I embarrass myself here. We want to thank WizKids, of course, who are at the back of the room. They carry all the Wave 8 minis that we are painting throughout the week, so please pick those up. As well, at the RealmSmith booth, just to your left there, we are selling Vallejo paint, and we are discounting the sets today to get them out the door. So they're 20% off the set, so they're going for 20 today instead of 25, just because we don't want to go home with it, so you might as well. As well, we're selling single bottles, and we're also selling subscriptions to and there's a promo code for $20 off your first month, or $100 off the entire year on our adventure box. It's a monthly adventure box, and we send you an encounter every month for 6 months of a story arc, and then we continue on with the campaign as you go. And it's got minis and candles and a Sirenscape sound set and everything you need to run the adventure that's in the box. And their module is written by RealmSmith. It's a lot of fun. Cancel at any time if you want to try the first one. And that is the case there. I think that's it. Let's jump in. You guys ready? And of course, Vallejo, sorry for hosting us in their booth. We are in the Vallejo booth. They have been wonderful, and we are using all game color paints today, which is amazing. So I think we're good. Let's dive right in because we got a big mini to do here. All right, so as is typical for minis, we like to work from the outside, from the inside out. So basically, we're going from the deepest inset areas of a mini out to the furthest kind of outside areas of the mini. On this little blister pack deal, it looks like they have everything metal, but for me, this doesn't feel metal. It feels like leather or something like that, as opposed to that. So what we're gonna do, what have I got here? I think I'm gonna go red on it. So I'm gonna go heavy red on the skirt and kind of the armor, and then we'll wash it in different ways to kind of give it different tones. So heavy red, it's an extra opaque paint. For Vallejo, that means that it's a base coat that'll go in one coat, basically, or one layer. So let's do that. Here you go, Wes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. When it comes to heavy, extra opaque paints, I do like to add a little tiny bit of water. It flows a little bit better. They are really thick paints, and we want to make sure that we don't clog up any detail. And this heavy red goes on so nice. You can see the coverage is just solid.
Oh, you're doing fantastic, buddy. Keep it up.
We've had such an amazing time at Origins. Last night, I was up way too late. We ended up playing that that scenario with DM Scotty, that survive the night scenario. We started at 11:30. What's that? I loved it. So DM Scotty painted with us yesterday. He owns a channel called the DM's Craft, and we call him the Craft Father because he's had kind of the longest, in my opinion, that I know of, the longest lasting or running crafting channel. He's got like 600-700 videos on it, and it's basically targeted for those of you that do D&D or do terrain or even wargaming terrain. He does like crafting on a budget, and so, you know, paper towel rolls and foam core and stuff you can kind of buy at the dollar store, and he creates awesome terrain from it. And so last night we played on a bunch of his terrain, and it was a survive the night kind of like Saw experience RPG, and I got out. I was the only survivor.
Congratulations.
I did. Did you guys get out?
We killed Danny.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh man. And that was the thing. I think I can give spoiler alerts, but his wife was actually like a traitor. Like she was like in cahoots with the killer, and then all of a sudden like shanked one of our people near the end, and then I, being the doomsday prepper, kind of went into self-preservation mode and saved myself and lived. So it was great, man. But some of the people in our group bit it pretty badly. It was so much fun though. We had a blast. Had a blast. All right. I really love how this heavy red covers. It's such nice coverage. It goes on so smooth. Like I said, one coat. is the Ryan? Is the Ryan around? Does anybody see the Ryan? I don't see him. And those of you that are watching from home, if you have any questions, tips, suggestions, or anything like that, if you've painted this before, we are live in the chat. So definitely sound off as you're watching.
Doing great.
Nice. I just realized my hand's going.
Okay, I am done the skirt area.
Where's the paint? Have you read?
I am also gonna do. I'm debating that. Has anybody done the top yet? No, yet. I am debating the color on that. Let me put some thought into this. Any suggestions, anybody? I'm definitely gonna do the undercoat. There's kind of 2 layers to it. I'm gonna do that red while I decide the rest. So this area here. Don't worry about overbrushing. We're gonna paint all of that with darker colors anyway, surrounding it. Just wanna make sure you get a solid base coat, more so than anything. For all of you folks that are here live at the show, this is an extension of our Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials with RealmSmith show that we do live on the D&D Twitch every Sunday night from 5 to 7. Right now we're in the middle of the Frost Giant, which is modeled after Harshnag from Storm King's Thunder. We did all the base coating last week, so this Sunday, so tonight, being this Sunday, we're not going to be airing a show because we'll be driving back to Canada. So we will be re-airing one of the episodes from this week, and then next week we'll be doing the rest of the Frost Giant. So if you happen to have some time this week, you can watch last week's, you can base coat them up to the point where we kind of stopped, and then join us live on Sunday. That'd be awesome.
Camden, New Jersey?
Sorry?
Camden, New Jersey?
I'm not, no, Canada. Canada, yeah, north of that. North of Camden, New Jersey.
I wanted you.
It's about a 6-hour drive, it's not too bad. Can you share it out? Share it out? Yes. I already shared it to tabletop. You good? All right. I haven't decided yet what I'm doing, folks, on that coat area. I'm gonna do heavy gray. That's what I'm gonna do. Heavy blue gray. I've decided. No turning back, maybe. But the red around there is actually still wet. So what we're gonna do instead is we're also gonna use red on the hair as a base coat. And then we're just gonna highlight it a little differently so that it looks different than the rest of his outfit.
Dad,
Because he's not that coordinated.
Dad.
How you doing, Wes?
Well, we're going.
You're going?
So you also painting?
Can I see yours, Dad?
No. So in here it'll be that. Oh wait. Yes, actually. Thank you, Wes.
Can I see
No
yours?
problem.
I'm also going to do the sleeves. So the material that is under the arm here, in the sleeves,
I'm just doing this.
we're also going to do red as well because I figure it's part of that same
Just do what I do. Whatever.
coat
I don't care.
or the same kind of outfit that his skirt is made of. Keep calling it a skirt. That's a very non-fire giant term. Maybe is it a kilt? Is it what is it? A battle dress? A battle dress. It's his killing dress. It's his dress of slaying. Dress of dragon slaying. All right. Okay. That's good. And we'll do the hair. I am going to switch, for the hair, I am going to switch to my, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm very indecisive today. So I'm going to continue with the larger brush, mostly because the surrounding areas are going to be painted in darker colors, so I'm not worried about overbrushing. I was going to switch to my finer number 2 brush, but
I honestly don't know what he's
I'm just going to get in there with my dry brush,
Did you do this?
which we're
A
using
little bit of the front, yeah.
as a base coat brush as well. All right. Let's see here. Almost done the hair here. Don't worry about the ears again, because we'll be covering that with something else. And frankly, if you try and be too careful, you'll find that without overbrushing, you'll miss kind of in the creases. You'll get that gray primer showing through. So I'm literally just jamming it in, getting it on his head and his face. I don't care. Don't forget the top of his head. And there we go. All right. That is all the red areas.
You're doing this.
I'm just gonna do it.
And what I discovered yesterday is we have a
Don't make it so
built-in
wet.
fan in the blister pack. So we can just... Everyone say hi, Irene from Vallejo at the back of the room. Hello. I love embarrassing people. It's my favorite when I'm on the mic. Wow, I am delirious. We're also on Facebook, folks, so if you want to share that out, you can. Let people know you're live on the internet. And this works actually remarkably well for drawing paint. All right, so we're gonna base coat. Now I'm gonna go for kind of like a tinny, sort of dirty armor on these guys. Almost like a dark, I don't even know what you'd call it necessarily, but I'm not gonna go kind of the typical gunmetal black wash. I'm gonna teach you guys a really cool effect here. We're gonna go with tinny tin. Tinny tin tin, get some of that tinny tin on your palette, load your brush up a bit, and we're gonna paint the armor on his legs in that tinny tin color. And this is a little different than what people typically do for fire giants or armor, but I wanted to do something a little different today. Cool color though, right? That tinny tin, and it The coverage on it is really great too.
Nice. You know what? I'm not gonna do his hair red. Do you know why? Look, it's the same color as his stuff.
This one's a little bit different.
Oh, it is? This
We
is
also on our
red?
so all of the episodes of Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials are on our YouTube and the D&D official YouTube page.
It doesn't look like it.
You can go back, and if you bought some of the dragons at the back, you can follow our videos to paint those. As well, we have some of our like
Let's
pre-produced,
go with it.
not live but complete tutorials. We have a 4-part beholder series on our YouTube page if you have the beholder, and we also have a owlbear series as well that you can check out if you have the owlbear as well. Okay, I'm also going to do the plates on his legs, kind of attached to his belt there. I am going to switch now to the number 2 brush, just because I'm getting to areas that are kind of closer to that red. And even though we're just base coating at this stage, and it's easy to, cover mistakes by going back to that base coat, I'm just trying to save time, and so I want to be a bit more precise on my base coat. And in saying that, I totally just overbrushed onto that red area. Okay. So how many of you play D&D? A show of hands? People hate when I do this during classes because you're trying to paint and you're trying to paint quickly, and I'm asking you to raise your hand. But it's fun and interactive, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Where's everyone from? Shout it out. Buffalo. That's like our neighbor to the south. Detroit. Also our neighbor.
Philadelphia.
Philly. Home of PAX Unplugged. Great city. Anywhere else? Chicago. Great city. What's that? Columbus. Right here at home. We had dinner last night at the Hyde Park Steakhouse. It was great. Tried to get into Ruby, but it was all booked up. Jeff Ruby, I guess, Steakhouse. I'm also doing that little buckle thing that's kind of hanging from the belt. Wes, your dad, right?
I am. Father of 4.
Father of 4?
Yes.
God bless you.
Right. God bless my wife.
God bless your wife, who allows you to come to geek shows.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. Aw. How old are your kids?
0 to 4-6.
0 to 4 6. Wow.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
I do have a 15-year-old daughter at home. That's an experience.
So is it true? Are they the same at 15 as they are at 3?
Is it the same that they're 50? They're the same at 15
Same at 15
as they are at 3. Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Is that a saying?
I don't know. I think I've heard that.
Yeah, you think you've heard it? Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. She's got a good head on her shoulders, but she's into makeup and YouTubers and friends. That's her deal. It's her jam. Okay, I've moved on to the shoulder pads now. Also doing those in that tinny tin. Again, we're trying to get, and I'm actually going to move back to the wider dry brush just because I'm going to get more mileage out of it, more coverage quicker. As we only have 2 hours here. Although we're doing well, good for time, I think.
No judgment, just be the worst. You're just. Don't worry about
What medal has he done? What medal have you done? You've done the shins.
I'm not throwing a battery at you.
All right. How many people have spent a lot of money at Origin so far? Yeah. What'd you guys buy? Games? Board games? Yeah? Books? Nice. Like RPG books or like, yeah? RPG, yeah, cool. All right. Almost done base coating all the armor. I am going to have to go back with that heavy red and just touch up some areas here. But when we get to the wash stage, it's pretty forgiving and it'll cover a lot of our overbrushing issues. Again, we're using tinny tin for all of this armor, all around the mini. We're also going to end up doing the bracers in tinny tin as well. Any of you folks running Storm King's Thunder right now? Campaign setting? No? I was gonna say this guy would really come in handy in that setting. I got a lot of mileage from my giant minis. We're running it right now in our live streams. We have live 5e from our studio on Monday nights at 7:30 Eastern. If you guys are into live stream D&D, I'll Critical Role. Tune in. We'll be playing tomorrow night. Right now we're swapping between our homebrew and our Storm King's Thunder campaign in alternating weeks, but we're looking to go a bit more consistent and add another night perhaps or something like that. So, but it's so much fun. I think we're on episode 35 of our Storm King's Thunder campaign. And I want to say episode 24, I think, of our homebrew, which was Horde of the Dragon Queen, but has changed. We've progressed since to kind of a homebrew setting. actually the same world that we feature in our adventure box. What's that? No. So we have our own homebrew world that we're creating in our adventure box, and so we've moved our Rise of Tiamat group to our homebrew campaign instead. Our yeah.
What's a good substitute for Tiamat if you don't have the Tiamat figure?
Yeah, so if you don't have the pre-painted Tiamat, that's a great question. I don't know, actually, if anybody else has any thoughts, but I'll just continue. I mean, I just continue to pressure WizKids into making a Tiamat figure. Justin, if you're out there, we need a unpainted Tiamat. He's not here. I also did that the plate in the middle of his, or the series of plates in the middle of his chest. We're doing that tinny tin as well.
Look at that catch.
All right. This base coating step obviously typically takes the most amount of time. Can feel a little tedious sometimes, but the payoff in the end is pretty stellar.
You like embarrassing people?
I love embarrassing people.
Right. So, I have a somewhat embarrassing story from this morning.
You have an embarrassing story for this
Yeah.
morning? Let's hear it. Just talk down on your mic here so that
all right.
the folks here can hear it.
All right. So, we're in the hotel. We're coming downstairs, and
Yeah.
Johnny, we're on the elevator.
Yeah.
And we see a guy with one of the Steve Jackson shirts.
Yeah.
They're demoing some games out there.
Yeah.
And there's one in particular we wanted to try out. It's the new dungeon drawing game. It's like the roll and write.
Yeah.
So we asked them if they're, are they playtesting it or are they charging any generics for it so we can, just see what it is. It's coming out at Gen Con. And
Right.
he was a little confused. He wasn't quite sure what the generics were, and he said he was pretty sure they were free, but he wasn't sure.
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever been in the elevator with someone who's pretty big news.
Yeah.
And you just don't know it.
Yeah,
Well,
it was Steve
Bobby,
Jackson.
Bobby leans over and he's like, Johnny, that's Steve Jackson. I'm like, oh, well,
That's great.
you're the creator of how many years worth of gaming, so.
Oh,
To be
that's
fair,
brilliant.
I didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
his portfolio.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It doesn't come with a picture of him.
No, of course. That's awesome. That's really funny.
And I like to think other people would have had that awkward moment.
Yeah.
because, Rodney Smith from Watch It Played was also at breakfast at his table with the board game geek fellows.
Right.
Everyone was coming up and shaking his hand, and right next to him was Steve Jackson sitting down eating.
Oh man, no. And a lot of people don't know what Steve Jackson looks
Yeah.
like. That's great. It's a great story. I'm just gonna switch to the number 2 brush to just close in some of the gap between, just to do some detail work on the bracers between the red and the tinny tin here. All right. Looking good, I think. How many people are close to done the tinny tin? Nope. How many people are half done the tinny tin? Okay. I'm just gonna go back and touch up the heavy red areas. that I messed up while you guys catch up there. Red, just the inside, so between the plates there and then the bottom part around the back of the miniature. We're still deciding which episode we will premiere on Twitch tonight, on the D&D Twitch, but it might be this one. Just saying. So everyone say hi, D&D Twitch community. Hi, D&D Twitch community. That was good. All right, doing all right here. Almost done all the touch-ups. Seeing all the areas I missed, which happen often, especially on a big miniature like this. Missed the top edge of the bracers here. Okay, and the paint actually seems like it's drying a lot faster today than it was yesterday for some reason. We're gonna heavy blue gray. Again, sorry for jumping forward here, folks. Just want to make sure we cover all the techniques for you. Now with my number 2 brush, because I want, actually no, I'm gonna use my my larger one. This whole kind of vest area, I'm going to do that in heavy blue-gray. It should go on in one coat, even over the red, because it's extra opaque color, and it is. It's getting great coverage on it. And we're going to try and wash the whole thing at once, which should save us some time. You want to make sure that when you're putting this heavy blue-gray over areas with kind of like the pinstripes, that you do water it down just a touch and move it around so that you don't clog those pinstripes, because that's really cool. I'm also not doing the edge in this dry brush because it's not fine enough, and I will make some mistakes that I'll have to go back and fix after. So I'm just going to kind of cover the larger areas that I can with this brush. And then I'm going to use the number 2 brush, which is kind of the medium brush, the size brush we have, and do the rest. You keeping up? Almost?
Yeah.
Close? Cool.
A little one step behind.
Cool. How you doing over there, son?
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Good stuff. All right, so that was heavy blue-gray. I think I'm also going to do his belt in that heavy blue-gray as well. And then his face and his hands in that heavy blue-gray.
Are you doing his gauntlet in this?
Yes. The bracer, are you going to do that color?
I think this is one of my favorite minis I've painted this week. It's super cool. Love these giants. All right. Done the vest area. Almost.
Are we supposed to
Gonna
get
do the
this?
face. And the face, you want to make sure that it's a smooth base coat. So again, dilute just a touch. Just so you're not clogging the facial detail. It's so nice on this mini. And as I tend to mention each session, this is the way that we're doing it. This is the way that I like to paint my minis, so that they kind of look like the Monsters Manual. But you are the boss of your fire giant. So however you like to do it, I want you to feel free to do that. You absolutely do not have to follow our instruction. Just some suggestions, some guidelines. Don't forget his ear, his left ear, which is kind of hidden in his hair on the left side, or the right side. It's the right side of the mini, but his left ear. And the hands. Switch to my wider brush for that. Any of you folks planning to be at Gen Con? Gen Con, anyone? Pretty sure we're going to be there. We're still just working out the details. But we'll keep you guys posted. Yeah, PAX. We'll definitely be at PAX Unplugged for sure. Not PAX East or West. PAX West is in August, right? I think it's West. PAX West is in August?
I think so.
Yeah, PAX West is in Seattle, right? So. But we'll definitely be at Unplugged again this year.
Better and better every year.
Yeah, it does. Really does. This past year was awesome.
I didn't get into any paint masters paint.
No, they were all sold out, eh?
You gotta get there at
It
least
was
6
nuts.
a.m.
Yeah, people were lining up like 6, 7 a.m. just to get into our events. But apparently, I've been told, and this is just what I've been told, is that they're doubling the size of that area for us this year,
That's awesome.
so that we can get more people in a room, which will be great. And also, folks, make sure that you follow us on the socials, especially Instagram and Facebook, because we will be posting the shows that we will be doing these sessions at. On all the socials, we are, whatever the channel is, /RealmSmith TV. And then on Twitch and YouTube, we're /RealmSmith. But if you follow us, we'll let you know what shows we'll be at and where we'll be doing master classes in the future. Love to see you all again. I'm almost done on the heavy blue-gray. Who all have started the heavy blue-gray step? Okay, good. Good amount. There's so much I love about Origins, and the fact that it's kind of a medium-sized show, obviously compared to Gen Con, but it's a lot more intimate, I feel, and it's not as crazy. But one of the areas I love the most is like the artist area, like the artisan area in the back. People putting their heart and soul into stuff. You guys seen any cool stuff back there that you really like? Yeah. Those like leather dice bags with all the faces on them are really cool. Those are really cool every year. If you guys have some time, if you haven't stopped by the Norse Foundry booth yet, those guys are awesome. They're partners of ours. And they provide all of our dice for our live streams. What's that? Yeah, they're great. And then also, Elderwood Academy also has sponsored our product sponsor for our live stream as well. And they created, we have them there at our booth, the RealmSmith booth there, but they created those spell books for us. And they put our RealmSmith logo on them. They're super cool, as well as dice towers. Good guys, Quentin and all the people over there at Elderwood Academy. All right, I am getting close to a stage where we can add some washes here. We're an hour in. I think we're doing all right. This is always the lengthiest step. For me, anyways. I mean, I've done, some competition painting in the past and stuff, but I prefer to just get my models table ready. Terry Latorco yesterday said her favorite color is done. And that's so true. Like, I don't know how many models I've toiled over in the past and just said, oh, I don't want to do it until I'm ready, or even early on starting up until I'm good enough. And they just never get painted. They just kind of either you play with them raw or you just never play with them. And I mean, the way I did it is I just kind of dug in. Don't worry about skill level, just have fun with it. For me, as long as it looks decent at like an arm's length, especially for a creature or a character in your D&D collection that is only really going to see the table like maybe even sometimes once. In some cases, you got your kobolds, your goblins, you might see those more often, but with some of the larger creatures, especially the giants, of course, unless you're running Storm King's Thunder and you're getting a lot of giants in your campaign, you're not going to see them very often. So, you want to do a decent job. You want to be proud of your work, but at the same time, unless you're doing competitions or unless you're doing it as an art form, if you're doing it to get it on your table, the techniques we kind of show on our episodes and our live streams, it is to get it on the table. All right. I am going to do the crown and his maul or warhammer in gunmetal. Shake up that gunmetal real good. The Vallejo metallics are nice and thick, so I like to dilute them just a touch. I'm going to use the larger dry brush so I can get more coverage and get it done quicker.
Nice.
How many folks are new to D&D, like in the last year? Just started playing D&D, right on? Oh, in the aisle too. You guys can answer too. It's all good. I have a group of we call them our noobs, and so literally it's people who have started playing in the last year or so, and some of them are folks who have never even heard of D&D, or heard of it but never really understood it or played it. And what we do is once a month we run them through our adventure box, and so that people at home who are subscribers can actually kind of watch it, get some ideas for it, and run through it. And it's just so awesome. I love that look in people's eyes, especially new players. The best for me is that moment where they realize I can do whatever I want. Like, they tend to approach it almost like either a video game or a board game, and they think there's certain rules and things they can and can't do, and I'm like, you can try, won't necessarily succeed, within the confines of what's possible for your character to do. You can try anything you want. And that moment that they kind of realize that is probably my favorite thing about DMing in general, is that moment. And then also it's cool just to run them through the modules that we write ourselves. We have in our adventure boxes, we have candles that set the mood, and so every box you get a different candle that smells like a different aspect of the adventure. The first one is my favorite. It's called Blazing Hearth, which smells like a campfire.
Attention exhibitor.
That's rude.
On over to booth number 304. Brian Pullen will be finishing up his great sculpture this morning. Looking forward to it. Awesome look. If you want to check it out, head on over to 304. That's next to the North Boundary.
Anyway, so we have the Blazing Hearth, which is kind of like the fireplace in a tavern sort of smell, which is awesome, and that's kind of the favorite. In fact, I think a lot of people who have come through the show have asked if they can just buy that candle alone, so maybe next year we'll sell it standalone. But then there's the Black Marshes candle, which is like a swamp candle. That doesn't smell so good. And then we had a swamp candle for the Blackwall swamps that kind of run under the city that we run. And Tim, one of our new players, he went home and he's like, his wife's like, "What is that smell?" He's like, "What do you mean?" And he didn't quite understand it was the food he ate, and then he realized he was sitting right beside that candle. But that's the kind of immersion that we try to get into our boxes. People really enjoy kind of, you're in the sewer and that smell exists. It doesn't cling too long, don't worry folks. You're not going to smell like that. It's not like a skunk or anything like that, but it's just so much fun. The one big reveal for us, the show, is that the actual mailer that we send our adventure box out in converts into a DM screen if you haven't seen it yet. And so right now we just have a prototype at our booth, but eventually it'll have perforations in it so you can just punch out all these pieces, and you can like transform and build your own DM screen with an initiative tracker up top on the left and a dice tower. It was so much fun designing it. Almost done base coating. And then we got to do the longest. I mean, this takes forever, but the washes also take a long time to dry, so we want to make sure that we get those on as soon as possible so that we can finish this mini within the 2 hours that we have allotted. Okay, I am done base coating this mini. I am not going to touch the base today. I don't think we're going to have time for that. If we have extra time, we'll do it. But I think we're just going to leave it white, and you guys can decide what color to do. I mean, personally, I'm probably going to do something that looks like lava rock or magma or something dark like that. Hey, buddy. I'm going to say hi, Adam. Adam's been running our sessions, a bunch of them. He ran 3 for us this week. You can check those out on our YouTube page eventually when we get them up there this week. They're already on our Twitch and our YouTube, I think, as well, some of them. How you doing? Good? Good. Are you? Okay. Okay. Are you heading out now? Carmen San Diego? Where? She's right there in the world.
Yeah, so.
All right, buddy. See you. Everyone say bye, Uncle Adam.
Bye, Uncle Adam.
He's so great. What a great guy. Okay, so I am done base coating, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to start to wash this mini. We're pretty much going to do an all-over black wash on them, head to toe. We don't want to go too heavy because we don't have a lot of paint that we can kind of layer up from that, but we want to dilute it just a bit so it flows nicely, and we're going to start. I'm going to start here on his what do we call it? Skirt of killing, dress of dragon slaying, something like that. I'm actually going to start under. Just do a quick wash on the bottom side. You're not really going to see it much, but at least we want to darken it up a little bit because we don't want it to stand out and look lighter than the rest of it. And with washes, for those of you that are new to washes, basically they add contrast and depth to a mini. As you kind of brush it over an area, it'll settle into the recesses and add natural shadows. I think somebody called it skill sauce. I love that. I usually call it liquid talent, but it's you can see that already. As I place it on the mini, it's resting into those folds. It's going to look really cool, especially on those reds and on the metal. And we're going liberal with it, but for washes, the key for me is that I don't paint them on. I kind of put a blob and then I manipulate it the way that I want and push it around the mini. I push it into the recesses. I pull it away from some of the high parts sometimes if it's darkening an area that I don't want darkened. But this is going to darken the mini a fair amount, which is good because some of our base coats are a little light. I am going to go a little heavier on the heavy blue-gray areas because I want those to be a lot darker than they are.
How you doing, Wes? How you doing?
And I'm trying to be careful where I hold the Mini because I want to make sure that I'm not wiping off all of the base coat. It will happen, and you'll have to go back and kind of touch it up here and there, but I want to eliminate that or minimize that as much as possible. So I'm basically holding on the bottom of the base and on the top of the head now. I can already see some of the red coming off on the top of the head, but that's okay. Because the hair is actually one of those spots that we're going to layer the most and blend the most so that it looks fiery. Is anybody else onto the washing stage, adding the black wash? Yeah, there's a few. Ryan? Tim's added an automatic 20% discount for the rest of the day. So just tell those guys not to take 20% off you. Hey everyone. Want to say hi to Justin is watching, and Rick, Ankney of course with Game Trade, and saying hi to Paula, Matt, all the folks watching us online. Richard, thank you. Everyone's wishing everybody a happy Father's Day.
Hey Wes, we took everything out from the storage, right? Okay, cool. Because they're returning the key.
I am almost done his full kind of lower body here. Moving on to the upper shoulders, adding a
Can I
wash
pour
to
the
that.
black wash?
Only that wash as well, son. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How many of you folks are in for the Copper Dragon as well? Yeah, right on. Good stuff. It's a great miniature. Really enjoy painting it on the show. Okay, almost done. This black wash. So close. I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit here, folks, just to make sure we get through.
Wes, if you don't finish it, are you going to stay a little after just to finish it?
Maybe. We'll see.
At this point, I'm going to start just holding them by the base. All right, I think, oh, no, not done yet. And you can see how much it's darkened that giant. If you have any of the pre-painted Fire Giant minis, you'll notice too that this is pretty much the stage where those pre-painted minis stop. Basically, they have like a base coat, then maybe they do some washes on it, some light dry brushing, but that's pretty much it. So we're taking it now kind of to the next level of where those pre-painted sit. And this is the same sculpt as that pre-painted mini. Okay. All right, that is done. Now I'm going to use, this is kind of the opportunity where I go through the mini and I kind of soak up some of the black wash that is kind of too thick. I'll just place my brush on an area and it'll kind of soak it up for me. You can see the legs already where we started are already dry. Under the skirt is also already dry. You do have to be careful though, because once the wash is dried past a certain point, it'll leave almost like a spot where it lifts. You can see it kind of happened here on the back, so you don't want it to dry too much before you do that.
Can you pass the black wash again, please?
All right, I am going to use this. And then I'll take this drying moment to tell you a little about Vallejo. So Vallejo started, I believe in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, by a family, the Vallejos, of course, in New Jersey, actually. They were from Spain. They moved to New Jersey and started the company in New Jersey, and then decided they wanted to move it to Spain. But it was mostly fine art paint at that point, and they still make a lot of fine art paint. If you go to Walmart and places like that, you'll find Vallejo paint. And it is still owned by that same family today. Alex Vallejo is the president, who is the son of the folks that started it. The mom, who is 83, still comes into the office every day, checks on everything. It's just a really family-owned business. And you get that sense from their paint, even the way it's formulated, the way it feels. It's all formulated in and produced in Spain, in Barcelona. This drying technique actually works quite well. believe it or not. Again, if any of you, those of you at home have any comments or questions, feel free to ask. Adam, he plays Shamgar, who is a human barbarian on our Order of Dragonsbane stream, and he is, I tell you, he is that guy, and not just when we're playing, but in general, anytime he opens his mouth, it's gold. Like, every time he says something, just cracks us up, and doesn't speak a lot, especially on the stream. He's quite quiet, but his character is kind of this big, hulking barbarian who basically just wears a loincloth everywhere, which is kind of funny in and of itself, kind of a Conan the Barbarian type character. And the first time we met him, we have a bard who is played by Joel Auger, who is also my business partner in RealmSmith. And we're sitting around a fire, and of course, you know, DeGraff, being DeGraff, says, here's a song, and he starts playing, and he plays, Joel's very musical and is a professional recording artist, and so he, of course, sings a song, and it's great, and everybody claps or whatever, and we go around the table, and or around the fire, and find out kind of who can sing and who wants to sing, and it's kind of one of those moments. And then somebody turns to Shamgar, I think DeGraff turns to Shamgar, and he's like, hey, Shamgar, do you know any music? And totally deadpan says, he says, the only music I know is the screams of my family as they were murdered by orcs. And it was just like, oh dear. But it's just like totally dead, like serious. Oh, it was horrible. But so very funny. And he's just that guy. Well, what did he say a couple weeks ago? Oh man, it's just, he's always got these.
He's always got like one-liners.
Always these one-liners come out. And if you have the opportunity, watch the stream, because it's something else how he just comes out with them. I play a dragonborn monk named Crichton of the Renuku clan. He's fun. He's not really fun. He's fun to play, but he's kind of, you know, he's a monk. But monks at 5th level, we just got to, no, are we 5th or 4th? I can't believe I don't know. I can't recall. Anyways, they're great. I got some crazy, the ability to deflect missiles, and stunning strike is like the best skill that a monk has, right? Can I hear y'all monks say amen out there? So good. And then Cornelius is a druid played by Dave, who's, again, hilarious. And so Dave played Balabar, who was like a arcane trickster in our one stream, and then decided that we wanted to kind of shift the stream, so we moved to the other one. So now he's playing his great-great-grandfather, who as a gnome could exist within the same timeline, called Cornelius. But Balabar was like a shifty guy who would like steal stuff and, you know, behind the party's back and all of that kind of stuff. And Cornelius is like this really nice gnome, and so he's playing these really opposite characters, but anytime we get into battle, he'll be like, stop that right now. He tries to like talk people out of it. It's pretty funny. All right, that's as far as I'm gonna get on the wash, I think, right now, and I'll let the rest dry. We're gonna move back to heavy red with our dry brush, and we are gonna dry brush. The other thing about Vallejo paints is they stay pretty wet in the palette for a while, so we can go back to literally heavy red, which we used an hour and a half ago, and there's still wet areas on our palette, which is nice. So I am going to, for those of you that are not familiar with dry brushing, you load your brush with some paint and then you wipe it off until basically there's only dry residue left in your brush, and then you're going to brush it across the texture against the grain, if that makes sense, so that you're basically just catching the top edge of that texture. Now this is just going to be subtle, but we're basically just bringing the color of that red back up a little bit. Just gonna do that on there. I'm not gonna do the hair yet because it's not quite dry yet. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some orange fire, put a drop in my palette beside the red, and I don't do this a lot, but we only pulled a few colors just to kind of show you how much you actually need to do this. And we're gonna mix in some of that orange fire into that heavy red so that we get a bit of a lighter red color. And then we're gonna use that to dry brush. And that's gonna kind of give us our mid-tone color that we're looking for. And you can see already, I'm dry brushing it across here, and you can see how it's picking it up, it's brightening it up. Orange fire and heavy red. Almost like a 50-50 at this stage. How's it going? Good. Basically now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my drying time on my wash to determine where I kind of hit next. So we'll be jumping around the mini a little bit as we go here. Make sure you kind of get the edge of that skirt as well with that color. Make sure you get under the arms. There we go. Now I'm going to go straight orange fire. Now here you want to be pretty sparing because it could be a little too much, but we're going to stop at orange fire. We're not going to go as high as gold yellow on the clothing. We want it to be a little less pronounced than his hair, and his hair will go that high. So we want to just, now at this point we're just overbrushing closer to the bottom, making sure we're only hitting the highest points on his clothing, meaning the points that are closest to the surface as we go across the mini here.
Nice. It just takes forever to dry and it hurts my hands.
And you can see too that I've kind of moved to almost over brushing, so I'm leaving a little bit more paint on the brush, and I'm judging that as I go. I'm thinking, you know what, I actually want a bit more on there. Not enough is going on in the time that I need, so just basically wiping less off to get more of an effect out of it. But that's pretty much where I'm gonna stop, because I want it to be dark, almost like it's soot filled, and then his hair is really gonna stand out against it.
So Dad, what color do I dry brush first?
What's that?
What color do I dry brush first?
Half heavy red and half orange fire.
Can I have the orange fire?
Just a little bit more on the bottom end of the skirt here, so that it sticks out.
That's perfect.
There. Half hour left. We're going to move quickly here. Make sure that we do that on the rest of the body as well. And I'm going to hit the hair where the wash is already dried with that orange fire dry brush. Again, if you folks...
You can still head over to to our new and unique updated game players later, and Dr. Who, special guest, head of the Game 505. Also, you can absolutely demo the Origins of players and the showcase area in the Hall C205.
If you don't wait for that wash to dry too when you're dry brushing, because it's a black wash, it's really going to make that orange muddy. It's just going to mix and it's going to look a bit like a mess. So definitely want to give it a little bit of time to dry. All right, so now all the areas that are the tinny tin, I'm going to go ahead and dry brush those with silver. Actually, do we have a gunmetal? Yeah. With gunmetal here. And that's going to give it kind of like a bronzy type look. We're going to save the brassy brass for something else. A little gunmetal. And again, just dry brushing over all of the metal tinny tin areas. And what you can see that here is it kind of adds almost like a worn texture, almost like the corners of that armor have been worn away. And that's the look we're going for. And we don't want to go too heavy on this gunmetal, basically just so that it looks like the edges are worn. And a little tip for dry brushing, what I tend to do is I focus on the areas that are the sharpest kind of edges on that area that I'm dry brushing first. Because as soon as you start dry brushing, it's going to deposit the most paint it will during that load of a dry brush. And so you want to make sure that whatever you want the most intense is where you kind of start, if that makes sense.
You done?
We're going to go across the entire miniature,
the wash.
dry brushing with this tinny tin on all of the armor areas. Get those bracers. We're also going to do the crown, even though that was the base coat, because of the wash, it's brought it down a bit. So we're going to do the crown area, and we're also going to do the mace, or the warhammer, I should say, or the maul. And it should look like that. Okay. Now, being very careful, you might not want to use the dry brush for this. You might want to use the number 2. We're going to take Stonewall Gray, and we're going to dry brush that on all the heavy blue-gray areas. But again, want to be very careful And just so you folks know, we're doing a 20% discount on all paints and kits at the booth, because we'd rather you go home with them than us, so. And so for this Stonewall Gray dry brush, I don't want to lighten it too much. Again, I want it to feel like he's been living in soot and fire his whole life, or as long as he's had this armor anyways. And so we're just going to lightly dry brush and just kind of try and hit the edges of the pinstripe on his clothing, on this kind of like protective vest in the back. Stonewall Gray. It's like the lightest gray color that we have. But it
You're
should
doing
just pick
really
up on his
well.
belt
It's really good.
and on that vest. And we
What
just
color
want
do
on
we
the
do
top
next?
edge. Just want a little bit of dry brush effect on that. You can also dry brush his face with it as well at this point.
Hey, Dad.
Yep.
After the 2 mixed colors, what do I do next?
The what?
After the 2 mixed colors.
I don't know which next colors those are, son.
Half and half.
The half and half. After the
Then straight orange fire.
straight on fire.
And you can see this face is great for dry brushing. You've got a lot of cool texture and depth and contrast after we've used that wash. We're also going to dry brush the hands with that Stonewall Gray. A little too wet. Go back, wipe some more off. Still a little too wet. Go back, wipe that off. There we go. And again, when you're testing the amount of paint you may have on your dry brush, I would hit like things like the knuckles or elbows or things that are going to be lighter anyways. But you can even see when I've dry brushed now this hand, his veins start to show through.
What color is the tin dry brush?
The sorry?
The tin dry brush?
The tin dry brush, it's gunmetal. The gunmetal, yeah. And I think he's starting to look pretty dope. All right, next we're gonna do a bit of detail on the hair. So now with all that dry brushing, the hair's kind of gotten a bit messy here. So we're gonna go back in with heavy red, which amazingly enough is still wet in my palette. And with the hair, with the number 2 brush, I'm gonna start doing streaks, staying out of the recesses because we don't wanna ruin that awesome wash that we did. I'm gonna go through and start to kind of delineate the hair again, because the hair is what's going to really pop for this mini. So I'm basically kind of not base coating, but kind of mid-tone highlighting this hair, staying out of the recesses with heavy red again. And then we're going to work it up to that gold yellow. And this is one of, like, in my opinion, the selling features of the mini and the eye-catching part of this mini. I want to be very careful because all that nice dry brush work you did, you don't want to mess that up in the adjacent areas. I've done some nice dry brushing on the back, so not too worried about that. On the hair is nice too. On the top of the head, so we'll leave that. Now for the first time, I'm going to start to use the high detail brush. So the smallest brush that we have, we're going to go with straight orange fire. We're going to dilute it a fair amount, not enough that it runs off the model, but so that we can do some detail work. And when I do detail work, I rest the back of my ring finger and pinky finger on the model to just give better control over my brush and a steadier hand. What we're going to do here is we're going to create basically strands of hair coming down the model like this. And I'm basically just, in some cases, if the texture's already there, I'm using the edge of the brush, so the side of it, to just catch the top of that texture. But if we have to create, like in the back here, it's kind of a bit of a mass of, so I'm just going to create hair texture lines down the miniature.
Are you done the wash? Okay.
If I did my hair in orange, should I just use yellow to do that?
Sorry?
I went yellow or
Orange? Yeah.
So I'm gonna do yellow.
Yeah, totally. Okay, we got about 15 minutes or so. I think we're gonna be okay.
So Dad, after the straight orange fire, what do I do next? After the straight orange fire.
You see? I would do a bit more orange fire on that, so it brightens up a little bit more. Now this is what I consider a speed paint on this Mini. This Mini could take 5-6 hours if you took a lot of care. If I was like wet blending or all that kind of stuff. Kind of rushing through my brush strokes, but I find it's good sometimes to give yourself a time limit because it allows you to kind of like not overthink things and move through it quickly, even at home. Allot yourself a certain amount of time that you want to get something done in.
That's life advice.
What's that?
That's life advice.
Yeah, it's life advice too. Yeah, exactly. Okay, gonna do some on the top of the head here.
So Dad, now what? Dad. Now what?
It's good.
Now what?
Dry brush the armor.
For with what?
The armor with gunmetal. All right, so I think I am done as much as I want to do on the hair with orange fire. And you can see how, you know, the contrast is really nice. It almost looks like he has like orange dreadlocks in the front there. So then I'm going to take some of this gold yellow, give gold yellow a little shake. The yellow pigment tends to be not oily, but a bit of a different consistency, just because of the way that the pigment mixes. So I want to put a bit in my palette here. And now I'm being very sparing on this. With the gold yellow, I'm just doing kind of the tips and the highest edges of the hair. Very sparingly, choosing exactly where I want to put it. And if you're thinking about waves in the hair, it would be at the pinnacle or the peak of that wave. So here and here, over here, because that's kind of the pinnacle of that. Down here it would be like right around there and there and there. On the top, it would be on the very crown of the head. So I'm going to do, that was too much. very crown of the head, like that. Very cool. And then I'm gonna take that Stonewall Gray. Actually, it's still wet in my palette, so I can take some of that. I'm gonna dilute it a bit, but now I'm gonna add just and I'm gonna dilute it quite a bit actually, because you want this to be subtle, but I'm just gonna pick out the highest points on the face, just to really make it pop. So we're gonna do the edge of the tip of the nose like that, the bottom lip, like that. And the more diluted it is, the more it'll blend. The Stonewall Gray. Cheekbones. The chin. Bridge of the nose. Right on the eyebrow. And typically I would work this up. If I was taking more time on this mini, I would work up these highlights a bit more kind of subtly. But right now we're just hitting it quick. Tabletop standard again, right? But if you imagine that there was a lamp above his head, where would that light hit? That's what we're trying to do here. Couple lines in his forehead. And then I'm going to do the same on the hands. I'm just going to hit the knuckles. Kind of the edges of his fingers. That. All right. Now I'm going to do his eyes real quick. I'm going to take Orange Fire with my small detail brush. And for eyes, I like to get into the side of it. Rather than trying to poke it like this, you're going to have a hard time doing that. I try and get in on the side. And kind of work it into that area. You don't want to work it too hard, but you also want your paint to be as diluted as possible.
Hey, Dad.
So that you're not gunking up that area and that it's flowing well. So that's that eye there like that.
Hey, Dad.
Then we're going to take...
After what?
What's that?
What do I do now? I did the metal.
I don't know what I did next. I'm not sure. Just give it a sec. And then we'll do the other eye like this.
Which one did you do?
I don't know what I do next. Dad doesn't know.
Did you dry brush the hair already?
No. I don't know what color.
There, now I've added that Orange Fire into those eyes. I'm going to let that dry for a sec. And then I'm going to add gold yellow in the middle of that so that they glow real bright. The one thing I would do in this, and not sure if we have enough time to do it necessarily, but what I would do is I would grab that brassy brass, just so we can kind of use all the colors that we have here. And I'll do brassy brass in the kind of design areas of his armor. So take the number 2 brush, a little bit of water, and then along the inside edge here, I would actually paint all of this brassy brass. And this will just give some interest to the armor. And actually, instead of you know, painting it in there real thick, I would just overbrush it. So you're basically loading your brush and you're using the edge of your brush just to catch the edge of it so that it lightens up those designs, but doesn't go in the recesses and leaves those kind of the tinny tin color with the wash in it. Kind of like that. I did it too much on this side. I'm gonna have to add a wash to kind of bring that back out afterwards. But I'm just kind of gilding the designs in there with the brassy brass. I'm gonna do the same on his bracers. Got all this nice texture in his bracers in each kind of section. So I'm just gonna run my brush over that to bring out that texture. We got 9 minutes left. We can go over just a touch if we have to.
So, Dad,
I'm trying to finish this quickly, and then
Also going to do the other bracer here. And this is kind of the last detail
started doing highlights.
that we'll be doing
yeah,
on
I
him.
know, but I don't know what to use though. So,
We did some of this, and then we moved on to the yellow.
There we go. So bracers, we've added that brassy brass color. It's really cool. I may even go in on the buckle here and paint this big area in the middle with some brassy brass to add some delineation and a bit of a detail on there. You could even come in here in the crown and paint some brassy brass. Love saying that. Brassy brass here into some of the details on the crown, just to make it more interesting. I'm also going to paint it into the hammer as well. Another option for this, instead of kind of this quick brassy brass, keep saying it, so funny. Instead of this quick technique, I would even do the same you did for the hair inside this area. So it almost looks like it's like glowing fire, cindery areas of the weapons. And that's it on the fire giant. Oh, no, it's not. I lied. Got to finish off those eyes. So again, you're taking your detail brush, your fine detail brush, and I'm going to come in here and just kind of like in a smaller area than I already have in the eyes, I'm just going to add a little gold yellow. Just to really make those eyes look like they're glowing and pop. There we go. What I might do a little later is come in and just use some gunmetal here. These plates on the chest are a little obscured now. I'd come around and do like a thin line around that, just to kind of make them stick out a bit more.
Hey Wes, look over here. Hold up your mini.
It's right next to
What's
the
that?
finished ones.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. Come on, lift it up. Come on, smile.
Nice.
Good. All right, folks, thank you so much. That is a wrap on Fire Giant. I want to thank all of the volunteers today. I want to thank you all for coming out. Wes, of course, who has been working the booth. Bobby and Johnny, who were at the RealmSmith booth. My son Ethan on Father's Day. It's great to have him at the table painting with us. And Ryan, of course, who keeps me sane. I want to thank WizKids, who are at the back of the booth. Again, you can buy more of these there at the booth, as well as all of the minis that we've been painting through the week in Wave 8. We are selling Vallejo paint at the RealmSmith booth. Head over there. We are doing 20% off on all Vallejo paint bottles and kits. So if you have anything else you want to pick up, or if you like what you've worked with here at the show, you can do that, as well as check out our monthly adventure box. It's really fun. Cancel it anytime. So if you want to try it for a month and get the discount, you can. We'd love to chat with you guys. I will be there shortly after this for just a short amount of time. If you want to chat, we will see you for Copper Dragon. And say bye, everyone.